You now have clear recovery in certain instances where you can give the ball to a recovering team. And this is one that they'll add to it, and it would have been changed even before that because it happened twice this year before.
Mike, in a game that's huge, and we have the Carolina-San Francisco situation, what do you want a referee to do there? You want him to coordinate head coaches? You want him to get both teams together and say, listen, I'm going to start really penalizing people here if this continues, because it got clearly out of hand. It got to the point where it was almost ridiculous what was going on after the plays. What do you want to do there if you're a referee?
I literally think you want to stop the game. Stop the game. And I had a conversation with Ed Hockley about this, and he's faced this situation before. You stop the game, and you go to the sidelines to each coach and say, listen, it's out of hand now, and you need to tell your team that if they even look at an opponent crosswise, I'm going to throw the penalty flag, and then you need to tell the players, and that's the only way maybe you can get it back. Because
that's one of the rare games I've seen that actually got out of control.
It was out of control early,
right.
and then once it got out of control, then it got inconsistently officiated.
Right.
One headbutt gets called, the other one doesn't. Bolden doesn't get called.
Right.
So if you looked interesting, Mike, because I was in Seattle for the NFC Championship game, and everybody said if you thought it was bad in Carolina with Carolina and San Francisco, wait till Seattle, San Francisco, because they truly hate each other.
They had nothing.
That was one of the cleanest games I've seen all year.
I thought Steratore handled the game really well, except for that one penalty, and there was no nonsense.
You're so right about that, and that was their goal. I talked to him before the game. We were going to keep control of the game, and it was amazing. An hour before the game, when both teams are out warming up, they formed a gauntlet. The officials formed a gauntlet right down the 50-yard line and didn't let anybody cross into the other line. When San Francisco left the field after warm-ups, they did a remarkable job at having great control in that game.
All right, let's give people a look at, we're talking about Mike Pereira, a look into what goes on this week. As far as officials, we got McCauley as the referee, officials as far as their meetings, and then the input they get from the teams. We might try this, we might try that, watch this, watch that. First of all, their own meetings. How much work extra does the referee want to do with his group during the week?
Well, I'll tell you got to remember the fact that they will have not worked a football game in 3 weeks when they walk on the field on Sunday. That's a long time.
Right.
You talk about the crew during the season, they get 1 week off twice. So they get 2 weeks off, but they're spread. So you never have even 2 weeks off. So in some cases, they have to go back to the basics and remind themselves.
And these guys haven't worked together either. They're all-star. They're an all-star crew.
Interesting, though, when you look at the crew, it's one of the more experienced Super Bowl crews that I've seen on the field in a long time, including during the last half of my career there.
Really?
You have Terry McCauley now, this is his third. Carl Paganelli, the umpire, his fourth.
Yep.
Scott Steenson, his second. That's a pretty experienced group. And you'd like to think, Mike, that when they arrive at who they're going to put in the Super Bowl, that since you have ranked the highest at your position in that highest tier, that you can work together, even though you haven't worked together all year, but still causes you to cover maybe some of the basic things since you haven't worked together that maybe you wouldn't have covered if it was a crew assignment.
And will the referee have a little symposium on both teams and say, hey, we're going to be looking for this. This team does this. This team does a lot of this. This team does a lot of that. Is there going to be a lot of that?
Here, they will look at more film of the two teams than they probably will have looked at, during the course of the regular season with the teams. But here's what they're going to look for. They're going to look at Denver's offense, and they're going to say, okay, what do they run that is different?
Right.
So then they're going to say, okay, look what they run here. They run a stack. They run a three-receiver stack.
And then we're into the rubs.
Okay, so now who's got who coming out of this stack?
Right.
So they know when they walk out on the field on Sunday, they know, okay, here's a stack. I know as the side judge, I have receiver number 1. Line judge knows he has number 2. So they don't get surprised by formations. And they'll also look, a bit at the the rubs and the picks and all those things, and make sure that they cover the fact that they understand that what's legal when it comes to picks and what's illegal and that type of review.
You will meet with each head coach? will the whole staff or just the referee meet with the head coach?
Actually, to tell you the truth, the referee doesn't meet with the head coach.
He doesn't at all?
Until he walks out on the field.
Oh, okay. I thought they got together about things they might want to put in the game plans.
But here's what it is. Actually, the head linesman and the side judge go to the visiting team's locker room, and the line judge and the field judge go to the home team's locker room, and they converse, and they get that information.
Okay, so it's not the referee?
Only till he walks out on the field, and that's when he'll go to the coach and say hello and ask him if he has any further stuff he wants to talk about.
Okay, and they'll come to you and say to these guys, listen, we have watch this, we're going to do this. If they have something unusual they might have set up, they're going to give those guys what they have set up, right?
I remember in the Super Bowl in my last year in the New Orleans-Indianapolis game, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it.
Yeah.
And I remember the officials coming back to the locker room. It's pretty amazing. And they said to me, New Orleans is going to run a surprise onside kick sometime, maybe even to start the game. And I went, you're kidding me now. You sure you understood that right? They're going to. And I went to Sean, and they actually got some video of it. And I went to Sean, and I said, you're going to run a surprise onside kick? And he goes, I'm thinking about it. And then he said, it's going to be in front of our bench. If I do it, I'm going to kick it in front of our bench. Obviously, that maybe they could influence who they give the ball to. And I said, do you understand now the new rules? Because there were new formation rules on kicks. You couldn't overload. And lo and behold, what they do, start the second half with a surprise onside kick.
One of the biggest plays of the game. In Super Bowl history. No question. Right. I mean, one of the guttiest and biggest plays. And you guys knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming.
That is unbelievable that goes on.